Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's December the 17th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And we actually had some movement today. What I originally saw was it looked like a trading range, and then we kind of dropped down a little equal distance here, and then we had another little equal distance. So we kind of like fell down in um, three little moves there, or three little ranges is what I would call that. One thing to be watching for, this was what I considered your first leg, and then we got basically a perfect measured move down to that next low. So that's a great perfect two-legged move. And generally after a two-legged move, then you're going to get a move in the other direction. But there were some other clues that we'd go higher here. Notice how we came up short twice. We couldn't get back down to this line. So you know you're probably going to at least overshoot that much. But it looks like we had a couple of closes outside those lines. It really depends on how you drew them. Even if you drew them, generally you get them off those closes. And so that's the way I drew them. And so it's a little bit close, so it's hard to say. But the fact that you came up short and then overshot here and then had this little trap right here, and there wasn't a lot of volume today, or there really wasn't. Um, And it's probably going to continue to be this way through the end of December, probably into January, because most everybody is taking the end of the year off. Most of your serious traders, they're done for the year. And so there's just not much happening. But you also, if you just drew these little short-term trend channels, they would have kept you on. Notice your first one going up, you got your break, your attempt to retest, but the resistance up here was too strong. Then you got your little trend coming down, you got your break, retest with a new low, and then you got your little channel going up. And you could have drawn this one a couple different ways, but the price action fit off the top and the bottom, drawing it right off these first couple of swings here and then off the top. And you finally got your break here, swing to a new high, and then you sold off. Then you got your bigger trend line coming down. You tested it off of that after that new high, so I liked entering there, and then you had another chance to enter right here off that line. And then, of course, you got this short-term little trend coming down here. You got a break, a retest with a new low, and you actually got another new low. So you really kind of had two legs down there. And then it reversed, and, of course, then you got to draw your channel going this way, and you didn't get a break till here, and you got a big reversal bar. There's a trap there. Notice those lows coming across there, and we broke below it, and then it reversed instantly. That's a nice reversal bar. You figure you're going to try to make a new high. You don't know it's going to go that far, but that's a nice reversal. So you want to jump back in there and ride that to the new high. And then that was the last one. That got you into about 1 o'clock, and there wasn't much happening after that. Um, you never know if you're going to get another leg up here and get two legs up. But you never really got a good long setup, so no longs in there, and you really didn't get a good short setup. I guess there's a failed second entry long there that turned into a failed second entry short right there, or a failed failure really, and then it ran up enough to get your scalp, and then it turned back down. So this was just kind of, this is getting into the 2 o'clock time in the afternoon. There's not much volume. You can see it's real slow. Just not really worth fooling with any of that. So because you'll get whipsawed or trapped on one side or the other, and to me it just wasn't worth it. Especially with this overshoot, you're probably going to get an overshoot here, which is really what you got, and then a move up, and then you kind of move back down. And if you'd drawn your trend line here, you'd kind of had this trend line coming down too. This little channel coming down. You got to draw those to keep yourself on the right side. And you can see there's a nice channel. We did have some breaks in there, so it wouldn't surprise me if we bounced out of there. So but let's go back up a little bit, let me just back out just a tad, make it a little bigger, easier to see. I usually like to give you the out picture so you can get a better feel for what it was doing. But again, when I came in this morning, there wasn't much price action at all. Of course, there's your highs from kind of yesterday, and that's kind of where we were at. So you had to kind of be aware of that. I actually had this drawn right across those highs right there, and of course I had it drawn across those lows right there. But when we broke this channel right here and ran up and couldn't get higher right there and turned back down, I liked entering right there. It looks like it looks like a range day. It's real low volume, not much movement, no real trend going there. We did have a little bit of a channel, but we had the break and attempt to go out. So that's a second entry short off those highs right in there, and you can see we kind of had those highs across there. You might have had them drawn here. That really looks a little better, and then we couldn't get back up there though. So I liked going short there. It's a second entry counting off that high after a trend channel break and a retest in what looks like a possible range. And then we're headed to the lower side, and it looked like we were going to have a failed break, but it just turned out to be a breakout pullback short. The only reason I like this one is because it's a failed second entry long. Notice the new high, first entry pullback. There's a second entry, so there's a failed second entry long. It's a breakout pullback short. It turned down off this little trend line right here. That's a very bearish looking bar when it turned down. So I liked going short right there. If you used anything other than stop, you got left behind on that one. And real quick and easy scalp. You finally get your break here and you move to a new low, and then you got your trend working in the other direction. And you could have drawn this one a little bit different. You could have drawn it more like that, but by doing it that way, you're cutting through that bar there, and it's usually off of those closes. And so let's just see how that fits, because I kind of looked at it both ways, and you see it doesn't really fit over here that way though. But if you draw it right off of those two, the way I drew it right there, then it kind of fits over here, and that kind of works for your other bars. You can see them opening right off that line, and then finally get the break, the retest, and you got a new high. And I drew this one in green because it was almost, it's so close right there to touching the line, and there's a little failed second entry. There really was a failed second entry long there, and then even another one. It didn't really go higher though. You probably would have had your line right across there. And notice how it finally ticked higher and then turned down. Actually, I want to go back and talk about this one. Your entry was really one tick below that bar, and so that gave you plenty of room, to get a couple of ticks above here. And that's why I'm always saying I usually have mine 2 ticks, because they got it that 1 tick right there, and they probably ran a lot of stops and trapped people, and then they took it lower. So if you entered here and you didn't use a limit order, then or even if you just had your stop 1 tick above that high, you probably got stopped out of that one unless you just exited. And but aggressive trader probably would have entered there. But there are some clues to stay away there. That's the first break of the trend channel, and you're going to have a retest attempt. So that might have been enough to keep you out. But the main thing is you probably would have wanted to enter with a limit order, and if you did that, you had plenty of room to keep your you could have entered all the way back here, and I probably would have, if I was trying to get in with a limit order way back here and this thing ran up that strongly, I don't know if I would have kept my limit order there or not. I probably wouldn't expect it to come back that far, maybe halfway, something like that. It's what I would have liked, maybe not even halfway. But this one's kind of iffy, but aggressive trader probably would have tried to enter right in there on a limit order or a stop when it actually broke higher here and went below that bar on the same bar. I probably would have used a stop, and if not, a limit order, and I would have tried to get a tick or two, just maybe a tick or two back into this bar. And so when it ran on up there, that would have been a little bit scary, but I would have also, if I entered on this, I would have had my stop, my safety stop, 2 ticks. That's why I always keep mine 2 ticks, because I can show you over and over where they get that 1 tick and try and create the trap and then turn it down. But when it turned down the second time with the trap there, you just about have to enter, because now you've got your break, your new high, and that's probably enough reason just to wait on that, to wait on this entry. And fairly easy scalp. They come back and get the runners unless you used a limit order, and even if you did, the best you would have gotten in was there, and they still got your break-even stops. But now you got another turn up that turns down right off the trend line, and you don't have a new low yet, and this one's off to the races. Again, you don't know that it's going to take off like that, but if you had a runner, this was a great move. Both of these you would have had runners, this one and this one. And they're the best 2 trades of the day, really, and that's where all your money was to be made for the most part. unless you were taking a lot of scalps. And, you know, some people probably would have entered here. We never got back to the EMA. It's too much overlap here now. It's starting to look like this. And it is kind of a repeat pattern, except we couldn't break that one tick higher. And it's also not off of this main channel. So I'm thinking this is no man's land. I don't think it was worth entering. And so I'm just going to circle that. And the lavender color. Notice that we kind of had this little overlap. We kind of had a close outside and a new low, so it was kind of tricky. Almost thinking go long, but by the time a long set up, you wait on a second entry. It's not a very good one, and look what happened. They trapped people, and so you might have seen that as a trap. And if you went short, the only way you could do it was right there. So I tell you what I'm going to do, because it was real tempting, and I could understand why some of you, a more aggressive trader would probably want to go short right there. Okay, sorry, I had an interruption there. I think we were talking about this trade. I decided to go ahead and draw it in green because there's a little bit of a trap there. It's a little two-legged pullback to the EMA. I think it's a little bit aggressive, but we weren't down to this trend line right here, so there was still a chance we could shoot lower and get there. But the one thing that scares me about that trade was the fact that we had a measured move, and generally you can see that right there. And generally once I get a measured move, and I mean that is a perfect measured move right there, and once I get a perfect measured move like that, well, what happened there? Something didn't. Once I get a measured move, and you see that's oh, that's the wrong line. Oh boy. I don't know what I did there. I moved it always grabs the line you don't want to grab. But anyway, if you draw that down there, you can see that that's a perfect measured move. And, you got to be, I'm always leery once I've got a measured move. Of course, occasionally you go further than a measured move, but once I get a measured move, I'm a little bit leery about going with anything any further than that. And but anyway, the aggressive trader probably would take that, so I'll leave it there. And then when we bounce, well, this is kind of like I said, kind of no man's land too, so that's another reason to kind of be leery of that. But if you took that, it worked. And if you were following this was really the first. I originally had this steeper than this. This is not. I still didn't get this back right. Let's just redo this real quick. That's the way I had it drawn. Right there. And you can see that the way I've got it now, it doesn't fit very well. And that's how I do this. I just play around until I get a good fit. And you can see it's fitting well there, and we get the little break and move to a new low. And we really had a break here and a close. It's not a real obvious one. And it's close enough to where, this maybe was just a little bit higher, and maybe it doesn't close outside. And so you still might have been looking, but you might have also still been looking for this move down to the other side. But when it turned and started trending higher, there's a failed second entry short right there. And so, and of course you needed to have that trend line drawn right there. And originally I had this one drawn right here, and I just drug it down. And but as it kind of expanded, I kind of expanded it too. And you can kind of see right across there. That's how I originally had it drawn. And when we had that failed second entry and it turned up there, that's a trap. And that's probably what kind of expanded it somewhat. And it's more like right up here. And this one I just kind of moved down a little bit. It doesn't matter where you had that. You still come to the same thing, really. But there's a trap right there. There's a failed second entry short. And you figure if you failed out this side, you're probably going to come up and fell out this side at the very least, and that's exactly what happened, and it comes back down. But then it turns up again, and there's a little double trap in there. There's another little two legs down. You can see first entry pullback, second entry short right there, and it broke. And when it broke out the top of that one, you're probably going to overshoot this side at least as much as you undershot this side. And so there's enough room there, and so I like the long right there as well. That one took a little more time to work out there, but by that time you can see there's a clear channel working up through there. And this still could have been right across there, and we got a little overshoot, and then another overshoot. And I mean, this one's really close right here. It may not even be an overshoot. It's just like two little closes out to one little close outside of it there. So, but then again, this is like a two-legged pullback. So it's a second entry long. You pull back, first entry. But notice that we did go a little bit higher there, like one tick. And so there's a little bit of a long trap there too. But I wouldn't go short there because there's been no break of this channel yet. This was the first break. If you went short there, it would have worked. But when that reversed, notice those, this was the kind of the lows before, and when it broke, and we got the little double low there, and so when it broke back higher, you're probably going to get a retest, and that's a really bullish bar, go long right there. You don't know that it's going to take off like that, but there were three really good trades today, 1, 2, and 3, and the rest of them were good for scalps or whatever, and that's about it. But those three were the ones that really took off and made you your money. So, and that's really about it today. There's some, there was another little short trap right there that you could have taken that I talked about, but it's getting real late in the afternoon, and you already had your break and your high, but you don't know that you're not going to get another leg up there. Because a lot of times you'll get two legs up. But this is just you just really had to kind of follow your more shorter term channels today, and also be looking at the equal, there's about 3 equal ranges here. You got this one right in here, and then you got another equal size, about an equal move down, and then a third one. But also you got to remember that's leg 1, your correction, and then leg 2 here, and this leg 1 is the exact perfect to the tick measured move for leg 2 over here, up and down. So, and that's about it. It's probably going to continue to look a lot like this. Maybe we'll get a big move one day this week before Friday. We'll just have to see. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. Hope you had a good trading day. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com.